All right, so good afternoon, Mr. Steele. Thank you for joining me on the 23rd episode of One to Come Up, a podcast where aspiring entrepreneurs can learn from the best of the best. Those on Forbes 30 under 30. I'm excited to learn about CoDream today and all about your journey, so I'm excited to dive in.
All right. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, so before we begin, can you tell the audience maybe a little bit about yourself so we're all on the same page here, all even keeled?
Sure. So my name is Aza. I've kind of been an entrepreneur my whole life. My businesses made, the first business made like $10, and the next business made $100, and the next business made $1,000. Kind of actually almost like pretty close to those numbers. And then the next business made $100,000, and then the next business made, I don't know, probably like it's probably actually going to be close to making or being valued at probably making close to $1 billion. I don't know. It depends on how much time you want to give it, but it's been around for a while now. Um, and yeah, I kind of took a hiatus after that, got bored, and then recently I've been working on this thing that I'm calling CoDream. It is really in its birth process, so to speak. It is definitely not a very established thing, but that is okay.
Awesome. Well, from $10 to $1 billion, that's quite the exponential growth. I think that's maybe 10 to the eighth power. Um, so normally,
Yeah.
definitely some major improvement there. And I'm sure, hopefully, co-dreams can also go 10 to the eighth power. Um,
Hopefully 10 to the ninth. We got to keep it.
yeah, you got to improve. You got to improve on your improvement.
Yeah.
That's all right, cool. So normally I like to start the podcast really about talking about your time in college. That's where I'm heading. And you went to UCLA for sociology, which is a little bit different than your career. So can you tell us about your college experience and maybe what you did there?
Sure. I'll tell you what I didn't do is go to a lot of class. But it was amazing. I kind of was a social butterfly in college, and I loved like I had friends in fraternities and friends in different clubs, and I was working on creating different businesses and learning from those different businesses. I think the hard part of business is the human part. And so, yeah, just learning a lot about the different relationships and power dynamics and structures and everything. Um, and uh, yeah, just kind of had a very fun time. I picked sociology because I knew it was going to be a relatively easy major and I wouldn't really have to go to class. I definitely wrote a few essays that were pretty embarrassing, where the teacher was like, "Okay, it is so obvious that you like haven't read any of the required books." This was before the days of ChatGPT, where you could like bullshit more easily. Um, and yeah, but that was all right because I was doing what I was really passionate about on the side and made a lot of great connections and relationships that I still have to this day.
Definitely. Well, your time at college was worthwhile. Maybe not spent in class, but that's where you started GoGuardian. So, could you tell maybe the viewers a little bit about the origin of GoGuardian, what your original intent with was it, and how you initially gained some traction?
Sure. So my friend Justin, um, imagine a like skinny Asian kid, pretty good at Settlers of Catan. I would beat him a lot, but he would beat me sometimes too. But super, super, yeah, he was a good friend. We would like skate around and stuff. And anyways, we went to a dining hall one day and his backpack got stolen from the dining hall, and in his backpack was his laptop.
Wow.
And I watched him over the next couple weeks just like really have trouble completing coursework And I started being like, man, what would I do if my laptop got stolen? And so I found the software online. There's something called Undercover for Mac, and it was like $30 for a personal license and $50 for a family license. So I called my dad and I was like, Dad, what about a family license? $50, come on. And he was like, no way, Jose. And so I decided to try to build a I didn't really know how to code, but I had heard about like HTML5 and that there was this geolocation thing in it, and I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And so I was like, I wonder if I could make a browser-based theft recovery tool, like a Chrome extension that could kind of act as a theft recovery tool. And so I just kind of locked myself in my dorm room and just really grinded. And it was super fun. There was not really any way to monetize it, but I released it on the Chrome Web Store as a Chrome extension, and over the next couple months, got up to like 10,000 users, and I was stoked. Um, so yeah, I guess, do you want me to keep going in the story?
Yeah, definitely. But that seemed quite the step from your classes. You originally wanted an easy major, and then you really started grinding there. So I guess looking back at your time starting Go Guardian, I'd imagine it's a little bit of a learning curve. In your first year, you scaled, you started fundraising and getting some employees, and this was almost like a Silicon Valley startup. So were there any learning curves, and what do you wish you would have known starting at when you first started Go Guardian?
Well, so it kind of didn't work for like 2 years is an important thing because I was a sophomore in college when it started, as what I just told you. And
Yeah.
then by the time it really started like actually having employees and whatnot, that was a little later down the line. Um, and what do I wish I knew at that time? Um, I think part of me wishes that I allowed myself to like get more help from people like mentors and whatnot. I sort of was of the like, I'm just going to do everything myself and figure it all out myself. And um, that kind of only gets you so far. Um, I think, yeah, there's a lot of people that have written a lot of books about leadership and stuff. And starting out, I was just like so clueless. I think the benefit that being wildly clueless gives you is you can kind of address everything from first principles, and you're not too like if I had spent a long time working at a company, I would have been like, oh, this is what a company is, this is what we need to do, and I kind of almost would have lowered myself to the standards of what had previously existed. And so it was nice to not be encumbered by the past in that way. But in another way, like our forefathers and foremothers, so to speak, have had a lot of learnings, and we have the benefit of being able to read their words or talk to them in different ways. But it takes a little bit of kind of like vulnerability or admitting that you don't know everything to engage in those conversations. And I think I was a little bit scared of that for various reasons.
But
So
yeah, that's very, oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's pretty much it.
But yeah, that's a very good point you make, learning from those that have come before you, and that's what I'm trying to do here with the podcast, learn from the best of the best. So yeah, could you actually? I guess I mistimed it a little bit, misplaced it when I asked that previous question. But could you tell us about your scaling? How that what kind of culture you had when you were fundraising and you were gaining all these employees. And considering you hadn't had any prior experience, and can you tell us, I guess, a little bit about that environment? Or?
Yeah, well, fundraising was terrible. Hated fundraising. Um, and didn't really like successfully raise money, honestly. Kind of pitched a whole bunch of people that like got turned down probably like 25 times. And then eventually a VC that we'd never talked to like reached out to us and was like, and they had actually heard about me through a UCLA connection, and they were like, "Hey, we want to give you $5 million," and I was like, "Whoa, okay." Um,
That's a nice call.
kind of. I mean, their $5 million, they ended up getting something like 30% of the company, and
Uh,
yeah, and we didn't really spend much of the money, and their $5 million turned into like $60 million. So it's kind of a nice call if you like giving $60 million to someone. That, yeah. Um,
Wait, they got 60 million of your dollars or
well, when the company ended up selling,
uh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they ended up making. I mean, if I hadn't had answered that call, you never really know. And there's definitely was value in having some money in the bank. And it definitely it legitimized it somewhat in our own heads and in other people's heads. But there is a definite cost, very concrete cost. And I think one of the bigger costs that's not talked about as much is like once you're on the VC train, you're really before you're on the VC train, you can kind of do whatever you want with your business. It could be like a lifestyle business that you pass down to your kids or whatever. Um, but once you're on the VC train, it's really they're going to be pushing you for a return to their investors. They have LPs that invest in their fund, and LPs want to make money. Everyone wants to make money. And so it had the net impact for me of turning this thing that I was just like so excited about as a project into a thing that was making other people money, which ended up diluting my ability to kind of like give love to this thing and like build awesome products for people because it eventually turned into more and more of a thing that was really just centered around making other people money.
Yeah, that's a difficult environment to work in, and that little bit of clash with your values. Do you want to do what's best for the company, or do you want to do what's best for the VC fund? But I don't know if I've ever had that problem before spending $5 million. I guess it's not as easy as some people would think. So I know you worked briefly, well, for a couple years there at GoGuardian, and then you took a little bit of a retirement. So you did a bunch of cool things that I saw on your Instagram and on your LinkedIn as well. Was there, you went to Lombok, you went to Yosemite, you trekked through the immigrant wilderness. Was there any particular event during your time here that really stands out to you?
In the context of early retirement, I would say, was there any event that particularly stood out? I mean, honestly, I think the relationships that I had, like the romantic relationships, is probably not the answer you're looking for at all.
No, it's all
But
good.
yeah, there's different
Yes, Nova.
romantic relationships that were kind of defining of these different epochs of my life. And yeah, that's honestly just interesting for me to notice, um,
Yeah,
more than anything. Um, but yeah, in terms of a particular moment, not really. I think I like sort of dabbled in creating different projects. I was kind of trying to avoid the gnarliness of like being the person in charge. So I kind of tried a lot of contexts in which I wasn't that. Uh, but also, I think I'm innately kind of attracted to power in certain ways, and
yeah.
so it's always this like interesting dance where I want to be in charge but don't want to be in charge. I think
Mm.
CoDream honestly is another manifestation of that, where it's like, okay, is he in charge or is he not in charge? Like, what is actually happening here? Um, and yeah, so it's definitely been an interesting balance for sure.
But yeah, that I'm sure that would make for complicated relationships a little bit of a power struggle.
Yeah,
um,
for
a
sure.
little bit of a power struggle. You know, you want power, you want to relinquish it. I'm sure that can make things interesting though.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, so I guess what I was really interested in is that I saw like last year, you had created an F-150 that had all these solar panels, and I guess that was a little bit of a departure again from what you were kind of used to in the sense that this was engineering. But that seemed like a very cool project. Do you think you could talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's just something that kind of I couldn't get out of my head. And it was funny. My cousin was here and he was kind of just here with his girlfriend and on a vacation. And then he was about to leave like the day after. Yeah, he was going to leave the following day. And I was basically like, yo, do you want to stay and help me build this crazy idea that I've had? And he agreed. And it was super fun. We both kind of learned to weld and learned a lot about solar. And I just yeah, I think I'm in a place in my life right now where I just love creation and I'm still, interested in money and think that money is an important part of this strange society that we've all co-created. Um, but I don't feel as like overtly driven to only work on things that will make more money. Um, Especially because money, as I come to understand it more and more, like the more I win, the more other people lose. It's like it that is just kind of the nature of the scarcity that is created in a system of capitalism. And like you only, I don't know, I'm starting to feel like I don't really necessarily need to win a bunch more. Like what am I really actually trying to accomplish? What am I trying to prove? What's the point? Um, so I got off on the side. I got
That's all.
sidetracked by my own mind. Um, but yeah, that was a really fun project. That didn't make a lot of money at all, but boy, was that enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. Things don't have to, make a lot of money to be very enjoyable. This
Yeah.
podcast, I loved it. Hobbies are very interesting. You know, I play tennis. I certainly don't make much money from that. So I guess from all these, your, mini retirement there, and from traveling the world, and in all your relationships. So how did these, experiences change your perspective, maybe on the traditional startup ecosystem, and perhaps even the Silicon Valley society or so.
Yeah. Um, I feel like humans have attention, or as us hippies like to say, we have love that we want to give to the world. And musicians give it through music, right? That is how they translate their love to the world. And entrepreneurs do it through projects and businesses. And I think that we just need to be a little more mindful about how capitalism interacts with these projects because I see a lot of beautiful projects get essentially co-opted by capitalism as people decide that it's more important to make money than make the world a beautiful place for our those that are going to come. And yeah, so I think I feel interested in that, um, and in continuing to explore creativity and what like also kind of what grounded creativity can look like. And uh, the hippie in me would say like what would conscious creativity look like, and not just creation of businesses, but I think there's a lot of different types of creation there.
That's a very interesting and deep perspective there. One that I don't think we've yet experienced on the podcast. And I think, yeah, it's a very good point you bring up, that maybe some of our focuses and values are not necessarily sustainable and indeed the best practices for society. So I guess bearing this all in mind, how do you try to bring that to life here in CoDream, a project you had mentioned earlier, and again a little bit of an incubator for startups and this whole process of beginning life anew.
Truthfully, I have no idea. I I'm like trying to figure it out day by day, working with people and their creativity amidst my creativity and seeing what wants to happen. And I I don't feel particularly in this moment very qualified to like be on a pedestal of knowing exactly what something should look like, but I feel kind of humble and excited to be in the arena, so to speak, and work with people on figuring some of this out. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to do is create the space in which to create these questions and maybe arrive at some answers, but oftentimes the answers will get shattered with time, and then you need to ask the question again and come up with a new perspective. Um, yeah, so I don't really know, but I think I'm having a lot of fun asking the question.
But that's I guess all you can do, and that's again very important to have a lot of fun. And I'm still have a lot of questions, and I don't think ever, no matter how many questions you ask and how much you learn, you will ever run out of questions. So I think that's a very valorant course to pursue there, and to continue to explore. And I guess even starting to help others start their careers, I guess you got to start that as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you got to start helping other people start their careers, and it's a start for the helper. I guess I hadn't thought about that. Um, so yeah, I guess looking forward towards the future. I kind of always like to have a vision for the future. Is there any particular direction that maybe you're taking with CoDream? Maybe any interesting projects going on now?
Um, so
Or maybe on the island. I mean, Hawaii is very filled with activities, and you also personally have had so many cool personal experiences. Anything on the horizon?
yeah, I mean it's really early days, and I don't really know what's going to happen. There are some projects that people are working on here. It's kind of a little too early to kind of release them more publicly. I have some cool ideas, and I'm talking to some people around Hawaii too about things that we could do that I think would be rad for the community in different ways. Nothing like crazy, you know. I just want to play a part. I'm not looking to, in this moment at least, like revolutionize everything. I am a part of a very large ecosystem of human beings, and I want to do my part, and hopefully it's beautiful and grounded and will feel good to me and other people. And so I think part of my goal of putting myself out there, you know, even just like saying yes to this random podcast, um, is just to find those that resonate. I think there's something powerful in just like putting your voice out there, putting your song out there, putting your projects out there, and seeing who is really like um, feels that and wants to, well, almost like as kids, just wants to play with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one last thing here. I've noticed, I've read some of your past, I guess, posts and some of your past videos that you made, and a lot of them seem to be some are even poems. Do you like poetry? Or because I mean, I'm a very big fan of poetry, even myself.
Oh wow. So my mom always thought of herself as a poet and still thinks of herself as a poet. And I have definitely dabbled. I definitely enjoy that space. I haven't honestly really like gone there for a while. But yeah, it can definitely be a really beautiful form of creation. kind of interacting with something greater than yourself. Because who knows where these thoughts and ideas and words come from, you know?
Yeah, because when you were speaking of some of these things about being part of a larger ecosystem and benefiting the humans environment and the natural environment, it kind of made me think of William Wordsworth and his naturalistic animism view of society, and he's had some very profound poetry, William Wordsworth.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Do you wanna read one of your favorites? Do you
I
have
don't,
the ability?
but I actually don't. I had an anthology of poems, but I don't have any.
Whoa.
And honestly, admittedly, he's not my he's not my top poet. William Wordsworth. I'm more into to Hart Crane or to perhaps T.S. Eliot. Those are my favorites there. But Hart Crane, he's still a little bit elusive for me. So
Yeah, those elusive poets. Yeah.
yeah, definitely they're very shrouded in metaphors. Anyway, I'm kind of jealous. I hear the palm trees swaying in the back. I hear the waves crashing in the back, and looking at your schedule here for CoDreams, I know it's time to get back to work. Um,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, Mr. Steele, thank you for joining me today on the podcast. I really enjoyed hearing about your career, and you had some very profound things, and I thank you for that.
I want to thank you for your curiosity and yeah, taking the time. Here we are, two humans getting to yeah, interact in this strange digital sphere. And yeah, no, I appreciate you asking these questions and like guiding me through some reflection. Today has been a really reflective day for me, and yeah, I just appreciate that.
Of course. Well, I made it even more productive.
I don't know, productive. I'm trying to get off my like productive thing for a second.